In this video, I will be talking about some of the things I do to thrive as a highly sensitive person. Hi, my name is Jana. Welcome back to my channel, where I talk about slow living and my life in the Finnish countryside. If you don't know what being highly sensitive means, I recommend you check out this video first. But to sum it up, being highly sensitive means that you have a nervous system that processes information on a more deep level than maybe the majority of people. Being an HSP means that you're more sensitive to emotions, to stimuli, to other people's moods than the average. And by the way, I want to mention that I have a brand new newsletter. I would love to have you subscribe it. You can find the link in the profile page of this channel and also in the description of this video. It's completely free. You can unsubscribe anytime. Silence. I have talked about silence on this channel many times, but this time I'm not talking about the silence around you so much. I'm talking about inner silence. Of course, living here in the country, I live in a very silent environment, but I have noticed that what's more important than silence outside is your silence inside. And it's your choice whether you feed the silence inside you or whether you feed the chaos. What I mean is, if you just keep receiving all the information available, if you keep participating in every argument, if you treat every anxious thought as if they were important, you keep feeding this cycle of overthinking and noise. It really is your choice. So how do you do this? If you want to cultivate silence inside you, you need to make it a priority. For example, this morning, when I had finished my first cup of tea, I felt this urge to check my emails. And of course, I was waiting for some important emails, so it was something that I needed to do for my work. It was really important, but then I decided that it could wait, because I wanted to give my brain the message that other things can be important too. Silence and having some peaceful time in the morning just by myself was equally important, if not more important. So I decided to have breakfast peacefully. I decided to spend 10 minutes reading a book before I actually got to work. And I believe if you keep doing things like that, if you keep sending your brain the message of how important silence is, doing less sometimes, not being in a rush, it really impacts how you see the world. And of course, I read those emails a bit later. It's my work. I needed to do it and I wanted to do it. But having these special moments of not rushing to things, not treating everything like something's on fire and you need to react immediately. That's important. You need to remember that you already have that silence inside you, no matter how loud it is around you. And you can always choose to try to tap into that silence. And as a highly sensitive person, I think that's extremely important. I'm able to take all the stimuli of this world much better if I just respect my need for the silence. Relaxing when I feel I don't have time for it. You know that feeling when you have a dozen things on your to-do list and you feel like you just don't have the opportunity of taking a break, even though you know that you need it. Well, in those situations, I have learned that it's always better to just have the break. My nervous system tends to get overstimulated so easily that having the feeling of not being able to take a break is the first sign that things are going to get much worse if I just don't take it easy. I have also noticed that often being busy is not just about the actual amount of things that you need to do. It's also just a feeling. I might have many things on my to-do list, but when I'm stressed out, my vision gets blurred. I don't have a realistic view of how many things I'm able to do in a certain period of time. And I have learned that almost always it's not as bad as it looks. And of course you might have a job where it really is that bad, and I'm not saying that taking a break will solve it all. But for my own personal well-being, I just know that I have this tendency to overestimate the things that I need to do and underestimate my need for rest. Respecting my attention to detail. Highly sensitive people are often able to notice details better than the average. For example, recently my husband bought a light bulb. It was kind of this bright white light, whereas the rest of our lamps have more kind of a yellow shade to the light. And that was extremely disturbing to me. The light was the different color than what I was used to. And I started thinking that that's probably something that comes down to being highly sensitive as well. Another day, my daughter came back from school and started telling me how disturbing it is that all the walls in her school are painted brown. And I knew immediately what she was talking about. I used to go to that same school when I was young, and the school actually, it really is extremely brown. I feel like we take this sensory information in a different kind of way than some other people do, and that's why we both were bothered by the brown walls of the school. Of course, it doesn't mean that the different shade of the light bulb or the brown walls of the school should be a problem. Of course not. We will just adjust and accept that sometimes people don't share our aesthetic views. But I just feel like it's important to say out loud that it's okay to be like this. It's okay to see these things in the world and kind of validate it. It's not that we're being difficult or that we are kind of snobbish about the paint color or whatever. It just means that we see these things in a way that some other people maybe don't. And we will have to just tolerate the brown walls, but still it's okay to make these observations and feel the way that we do. Challenging myself. Being highly sensitive doesn't mean that you should live in a cave without any outside stimuli, even though it might feel like you sometimes want to do that. But it isn't worth it. The more you avoid your triggers, the more sensitive you will get. I recently published a book, and I was invited to speak at the Helsinki Book Fair, which is the biggest cultural event in the Nordic countries. I was part of a panel with 3 other writers. I was happy to get that invitation. It was only my first book, and I felt like I'm extremely lucky and grateful to be invited. But no matter how happy I was extremely nervous. And this brings me to what I think is the best way to tackle challenges, and that is motivation. If you have a clear reason why you want to do something, it will be so much easier to actually do it. Of course, sometimes you don't really have that strong motivation. You just feel like maybe other people's expectations are drawing you to a certain direction, or you just end up doing things that you feel like you have to do without that clear inner motivation. But even in those situations, I feel like coming up with reasons why it's a good idea to do that helps a lot. You can reframe it as a learning opportunity. You can think about how much joy you will be bringing others by doing it. Often you can find something positive about this challenge, And that will make tackling it so much easier. Creating a safe bubble. I think it's becoming more and more common these days that many people quit following the news. They quit social media, and that's something, well, I'm not quitting to be exact, but I try to use social media and read the news very mindfully, because I have noticed that the effect they have on me is not very positive. Many of the news nowadays are pretty grim. We don't really get a break from the bad news. And if you keep feeding your brain that all the time, it does have an impact on you. It feeds your anxiety. And also with social media, there are many reasons for why it might not be so good for you. Let me give you an example. The other day I logged on to Facebook, and like within the first minute I noticed it was a bad idea. I bumped into a discussion about a TV show that I had liked and the others hadn't so much. I immediately felt the need to protect my views. I felt annoyed at the discussion, but I soon realized that I don't have to be defending my opinions all the time in every discussion. It's okay if people feel differently than I do. If I just keep engaging in these discussions on social media, I keep feeding this feeling inside me that I'm fighting against somebody, that there is a battle. And it doesn't end when you express your opinion. You just keep having this sense of a battle in your mind, maybe for the rest of the day. At least that's what happens to me. I find it difficult to let go of these discussions, and I feel like I come up with new arguments for what I wanted to say, and it just keeps feeding this chaos in my mind. Taking change slowly. I have noticed that it takes me a while to get used to change. I don't like change. I prefer for things to stay the same. It often feels like change is just happening and I have had no time to prepare for it. For example, the working schedule of my husband changed recently. He used to work regular office hours, but now he also has some night shifts. I've had a hard time adapting to it. You might wonder why it even bothers me, because it's not my work schedule, it's his. But it does affect everything we do as a family. So I have had to accept that this is difficult for me. This is not something that I would have chosen. But since I can't change it, I just have to accept that it's challenging me. But there are ways how I can make it easier for me. For example, coming up with the positives of the change and accepting that my brain is such that it automatically goes to the negative first. I have to actively do some thought work to handle this. So whenever I feel like change feels difficult, I actively try to think of things that are positive sides of the change, and giving myself plenty of time. Sometimes I feel like I should have already gotten used to this by now, but it doesn't feel helpful to think that way. I can take as much time as I need. Okay guys, I think this is enough for today. Thank you for watching as always, and remember that I always love to read your comments, so please share your thoughts. And if you felt like you got some value out of this video, remember to hit that like button as well. Remember to take care of yourself. See you in the next video. Bye bye!